Welcome to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We are so excited to have you joining us on this journey where we explore different ways to empower your soul, whether it's healing in your kitchen or all the way up in the corporate world. Come with us as we look into different ways to heal your mind, body, and soul. My virtual obsession, my romantic thriller, is now available on Amazon and other online retailers. This book explores the intersection of loneliness, love, and how chasing perfection through technology can lead to fantasy and reality colliding. My virtual obsession out now.
Everyone, it's Catherine Crestani with another episode of Willow Healing Matters, and today I am joined by the delightful Natalie Saar. She's a self-published author of 8 books, both fiction and nonfiction. She's passionate about helping people follow their writing dreams and more generally in helping people become their best self through gentle improvement techniques. She believes that life already comes with enough challenges and we need to learn how to be our own best friend and cheerleader instead of our biggest critic. So a big welcome to the show, Natalie.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I love this podcast.
Thank you. But I want to congratulate you. 8 books self-published. It's no mean feat from someone. I've done 2 books, but I fully understand that each book is a completely different process, right?
Yes, it is. And I've got like a couple different genres and stuff like that. I just am a storyteller at heart. I can't help it. And so I just like to tell stories. So I started telling thrillers and then I moved to cozy mystery series, but I have 2 nonfiction ones, and one of them is called Becoming 1% Better, 100 Simple Tips to Get a Little Better Every Day. I don't know. It started as a Substack and I was like, you know what? I guess I'll just turn it into a book. And so I just wrote more chapters and turned it into something that I hope helps people.
You know what's so funny about that? I just scheduled an article to talk about doing one small thing to step towards your dreams, and it's going to go out on Substack.
I love it. I think it's such a powerful message. Like I don't know, I very much am an overachiever. And so for me, I have tried like all of the ways of self-development, like kind of just as like personal challenges. I talk about this story where I in some of one of the chapters where I was like trying to find balance in my life and I like tried to bucket things like family, friends, projects, work, health, wellness. And it was like the buckets were never balanced and I just felt like I was failing at everything. And then it was about that time when I was like, what if I just do 1%? Like I can do 1% every day. And so that's kind of how I started. And then I learned it's like a real concept that people talk about. But I'm glad that you wrote about it because that's some of the feedback I've gotten from the book and the Substack is that it's just so much easier to think of things in smaller increments.
Yeah, and it's that whole thing that we overestimate what we can do in a day and underestimate what we can do in a year. And I know as someone that used to run businesses and have to multitask all of my life, like every moment because I had so much to do, learning how to stop doing that and step out of that hustle, push, 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 and actually give yourself the grace. Like, do I really need to clean the whole house today? No, I don't. How about I just do the sinks because they're annoying me the most, you know? Like, and then tomorrow I'll do a bit more, and tomorrow I'll do a bit more, and then I have a child counteracting every moment anyway. But you know, it's just it's
Exactly it. And like we don't know how to say no. And we don't know, like we think that if we say no or that if we take the time to rest, that those are negatives, like that we've taken away from like proactively working on our lives. But like truly, and the science continues to back it up more and more, but like rest is so important and you will never be your best self if you're not resting enough. But yeah, you're 100% right. Like, how many times are we like, oh, but I really wanted to clean all this stuff today, like just so that I feel better about it. Just take the win. Just do the one, do the sinks, do the one thing, and move on.
100%. And I feel too, you bring up such an important thing too, where we just think we make ourselves feel guilty because we haven't met these standards that we set for ourselves. And I feel that that's that component, right, where that inner critic just kind of comes in and it's like, ah, you should have done that and you should have done that. It's like, well, actually, I did do all of this today instead. And that made me feel much better. Or I really needed that nap, and sometimes when I listen and rest and have those naps, money always comes in. It's so weird. Like it would be like, well, I had a client book in while I was resting and this payment just appeared in my account. Thank you
You made the
very much.
space for it and it happened.
Exactly. Exactly. I feel to ask, Natalie, through this writing process, what inspired you to start writing? Did you just always know you wanted to be a writer, or it just kind of birthed as an
Yeah,
idea?
so that I've always been a writer, I've always been a storyteller. Like before I could write, I would put on puppet shows and like have my family watch me make up stories with little sock puppets that my mom made. And so I've always liked telling stories, or like when me and my siblings and our friends would play, like you play whatever type of game that you're playing, but sometimes we would like put on little shows and I would always be like, I'm going to be the narrator. Like I don't want to be any characters. I just want to be the narrator. And so I've just always loved it. And then around like 2011, 2012, that's when like KDP and Create Space were becoming more accessible to people. They were still like pretty cumbersome, but you could do it. And it was when self-publishing started, like, I won't say like taking off, but just people were becoming more aware of it as an option. And so I just thought to myself, like, I'm just going to write a book. I have a billion tiny stories, and I have already made peace with the fact that I will like run out of time in my life. Like I will die with stories still in my head that I didn't have time to write. I was like, I gotta just get going. And so I did, and it's just been so rewarding. And I keep meaning to say this too. I don't want to get too far away from it. I love what you said about how we don't think about how much progress we actually make in a year. Like we're so focused on today. That's something I love to tell people who are wanting to write a book. Like a standard book, let's call it 60,000 words. That's kind of the length we're all used to. If you just write 200 words a day, which you can write in a notes app, you can write while you're waiting for your kids in line for pickup, you could write it. It takes 5 to 10 minutes to write 200 words, and you'll have a book in a year. You'll have a 60,000 word book in a year if you just do that. Like I feel like we're all waiting for something for 5, or like you're waiting for your tea or whatever. Yeah, I think that's so important that people like are reinforced that little things add up.
Um, I wrote my novel writing 15 minutes a day. And
There you
and some
go.
yeah, that's how I did it. It ended up being 90,000 words, and by the time I harshly edited it and got rid of the fluff, it ended up being about 60, exactly like you said.
Process feel for you.
It became such a good habit that if I went to bed and hadn't done my 15 minutes, I would wake up and go do my 15 minutes. Or if I knew I was really busy, I actually put voice to text on in my car whilst I was driving and would just say the story, because I was on boring freeway. I just put cruise control on and just, the things I used to do while I was driving to work, as funny as. But anyway, and I would do it that way. Or if I wasn't feeling creative, and I feel like this is sometimes where writers sometimes beat themselves up, right? If I wasn't feeling creative or feeling the words flowing through me, I would just use that to go back and edit and make sure things were like aligning it and moving together. So I love that you brought up 200 words, and it's not a lot. It's the same, right? I call it a self-commitment practice, because you're
I
actually
like
honoring
that.
something you want to do for yourself every day.
I like that. That's a great phrase. I'm gonna start using that in my own life, because that is what it is, right? Like that's something that I've been working on in my personal life a lot lately, is like if I want certain changes to happen in my life, they don't happen unless I commit to them. And I have to commit to them for myself. I can't commit to them for other reasons. And so I like that phrase a lot.
Yeah. I actually wrote an article about it, and I said, stuff self-love, we need to self-commit, because
Yeah.
Because self-love is a moment, right? Like it's a moment
Mhm.
of showing yourself love, whereas committing to yourself is actually saying, I'm worth it. I'm going to say yes to me and create that space for me and allow that to flow through, and I'm very big on picking a theme for each month. So last month, my theme was, I'm going to promote the crap out of my book. I'm going to show up on Instagram every day and I'm promoting. I'm going to go on all these podcasts. And I did, and then it got to the end of the month and I'm like, all right, I'm going to take a couple of days. I just need to reset because that was full on. And then this month I am focusing on clients. So I did, and I've got all these new clients. So it's just interesting how because it's that whole universal law, right? Where your attention goes, the energy flows. So you don't have to try and focus on everything. And it's funny because when you choose something to focus on, things just work themselves out in the background. Like you said with that buckets, right? You were trying to put everyone in buckets. But when you just choose to focus on one thing and doing 1% better, then all of a sudden everything else improved as well. And you're like, but I didn't do anything with that, because it's just that shifts happen in you.
I love that. I love that so much. I think it's there's like a concept that I'm also working on. I mean, I've worked on it for a long time. It goes along with the commitment, but like I always think about I live on the West Coast in the United States, and so we obviously have one of the later time zones. And so when I've had jobs where I worked with people on the East Coast, sometimes you'll have like meetings at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. my time. And if it's my job, I show up to those meetings. But for some reason, I really struggle to make a 5 a.m. appointment with myself and keep it every day, even though I know that what I would be working on at 5 a.m. is impactful for the rest of my life, but it's that self-commitment, right? Like, why is it so hard to do the things to commit to ourselves? And like, I'm a night owl. Like, if I don't enjoy a 5 a.m. meeting, but it's just kind of the principle of the thing. It's like, if I can't do it at 5, can I find another time where I like make a meeting with myself and I show up for it for whatever the thing is that I wanted to work on in that time? But yeah, the commitment's so important.
Yeah, I find putting an appointment with myself in my diary, I had to actually start doing that. I have a money date where I actually date my little money honey. And I go, all right, let's have a conversation here. And I had another guest on the show many, many episodes ago, and she said she puts in her diary, receiving miracles. So she'll block out 2 hours of the day where she just allows herself to receive whatever's meant to flow into her life. And she doesn't put
Love
appointments or
that.
anything there. Yeah. And I was like, it's so true, because we're so busy on pushing, pushing, pushing. And like, I tried the 5 a.m. thing. I did it for ages. Like I did the whole 5 a.m. club and getting up at 5 a.m. And don't get me wrong, I got a lot done, but I was tired. I was really tired. And some days I do get up like at 4 a.m., 3 a.m., 2 a.m. because I have commitments in America too. So I understand from the flip side of that where it's what it's like, especially when daylight savings disappears here and then starts over there and everything else. But exactly like you said, you show up because you've made that commitment. So why don't we show up for ourselves? Like that's comes back to that bigger question. And that if you can learn how to answer that question, then you'll create some really powerful changes in your life too.
It's true. I feel like, to the point you're making, like, even if you just do it, just start out by doing it like one day. Like, that's what we struggle with too, right? With, like addicts, they do one day at a time. So I feel like that obviously, if that's what you have to do for like the hardest things in your life, then slightly easier things, just adopt it as well. And it'll just make it gentler. Like the more that we do things that feel hard, like there's a difference between something feeling hard because it's a challenge and feeling hard because it's wrong. And you know in your gut, like this is wrong for me. And then we just create all kinds of resistance in our lives. And that doesn't help anybody. That doesn't help us. It doesn't help the people around us. It's just not like you'll know when it's resistance for a good reason, or like, like strength training is resistance training. I always give that example, and that's good for you. But you'll know if you're trained too hard. Like you'll know if you're lifting too much weight, and that's not good for you anymore.
No, I like to use the example of, do you like that activity and do that activity when you're not exhausted? So for example, right? I'll bring up the sink again. My husband has this habit, and he knows he has this habit, but he'll always leave one thing in the sink. We don't know why he does it. He just does it. Don't know why. He just does. And he's done it for as long as I know him. And I'm like, what is that about? Anyway, that's not my journey. If I'm not tired, I just have a laugh about it, and then I'll finish it and put it in the dishwasher or wash it up or whatever and go, oh my goodness, typical him. But if I'm exhausted and tired, then I'm like, oh, why do I have to do this? And I don't want to do this. And, why is this so hard? And then you catch yourself and you're like, oh no, it's just because I'm really tired. And I'm just going to put that in the dishwasher and I'm going to walk and go to bed, but at the same time, knowing your own emotional state can be really powerful too, right?
Yeah, it is. And like knowing what you need for yourself versus like what I don't know, maybe like external forces tell you that you need, like how I was talking about it earlier. Obviously, it's a theme in my life, so I think about it often, but like I need to rest. Like my brain is a very busy place all the time. I meditate, like I do all the things to calm it down. I do yoga nidra, I do all of that. And it all helps. Those are things where I have to stop and do them. And so I have to like let myself have that permission to do it because otherwise I'm not the best version of myself at all. I'm not helpful to me or anybody else in the ways I could be if I would just be like, you know what? I'm just going to do this and move on.
Yeah. And so often, too, when we try and push in those moments as well, right, is where we get that resistance. I know for me, like if I try and push myself to write and I'm not in the mindset, I'm going to get nothing done in 20
Yeah.
minutes. Whereas today, because I was inspired, in 20 minutes, I think I wrote 2 articles. And I'm like, wow, that was amazing. Thank you. All I had to do was
That's the
go
best
for a walk.
feeling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But it's like, take advantage of these things too. Like if you have a Substack, you can use the schedule button. So you
Yeah.
can do lots of writing. You don't have to release it all in one go. You just know it's there and it's done out of your head,
Yeah.
or however that looks. But the question that keeps popping in my head, Natalie, is so for those who are, I'm happy to weigh in on this too, but for those who are curious about the self-publishing journey, what are some things to go in knowing rather than discovering them later? So for example, for me, I learned the importance of not clicking that button for extra distribution on Amazon because then it takes away your rights to put it on your website and everything else. So please feel free if there's any other tips.
That's a great one. Started a website called theindieauthors.com to like try and help aggregate resources. It has been slow going because I've been publishing like 2 to 3 books a year since I started it. And so I just don't have a lot of bandwidth to get everything done. But I started it to answer this question and to help writers. And so literally just today I finished like mapping out my publishing schedule for the rest of the year. More things are coming. By the time this airs, more things will come. So more things will be on there. Anyways, I think the thing that for me, kind of similar to yours, that is so important for people to know is it's the money stuff, right? Like people don't want to self-publish because they feel like it's too expensive. I don't have the money to do it. And it can be expensive. Like I do know people who have spent like tens of thousands of dollars on stuff. Like there's different packages you could get from places. And I think if you have no experience writing at all, you just have like a story in your heart and you want to get it out there and you need some help, those are great options. I do have friends that have done that route and they are so happy that they went that route. I think for a lot of people though, if you're just like a storyteller and you're like, I really want to write this story, I have no money, I don't know what to do. There's so many, I've written about this before. I'll keep writing about it because I think, the more opportunity for people who are searching for this information to find it, the better. But I published my first book with $0, and it's totally possible to do that. And I like when I check on Amazon to see like how many reads I have and things like that, the things that I get the most reads on, I'm not running ads on. Like I'm not I mean, I'm talking making like $10 a month here. We're not breaking any records. But it's still like I'm not doing anything. You get them out there and then the right people find them at the right time. But point being, you don't have to have an ad budget. You don't have to have any of that stuff. You can just publish it because we're humans and we're put here to create things. And it's like, this is a dramatic way of saying it, but it's like a crime against yourself to not do it if you feel like you're led to.
100%. And I think it's really interesting because it's amazing how many people think it's really hard. But actually Kindle, I have to say KDP, and please note anyone listening, we are not affiliates of Amazon. We're not here
No,
shooting
no.
their thing, right? But having used Ingram Sparks and used Amazon, Ingram is so much harder. It's just
Literally stopped publishing books through Ingram because back in the day it was awful. Like when I did my
it's
first book, it was awful. And then the most recent series I did, I changed the cover size and for some reason it like won't accept one of the spines on one of the books from the series. And I'm like, I'm looking at the book right now. It's literally fine. Why won't you publish it?
Yeah, and this can be like what puts people off, right? Whereas Amazon, they have done their due diligence because they know this is a market that they have. And you can download Kindle Creator and it will just automatically put your book into an ebook format. And I've even used that to format it for publishing because you can, and then, you can also, they've got like a template you can download that you can put into Canva to help you put your book together. You don't even have to have the paid version of Canva. Again, this is all you can do for free. Then we've got AI coming online where AI can help you resize your images to fit if it doesn't fit properly. You can, there's lots and lots more tools than when Natalie started and it was all kind of, creaking out and going, yeah, here's this clunky little bit of thing that you can use.
Yeah. Then it was like two whole different platforms. They had their like Kindle KDP platform and Create Space. So you had to do it two different ways, and then also Ingram, and it was just a lot. There's other great platforms too that can help you with like ebook distribution. I think I'd be interested to hear how your thoughts are on this too. I always struggle with this, like again, because you don't want to be like, I'm promoting Amazon all the time, but that's just where it's at, right? And so because of their Kindle Unlimited program, that's how a lot of people, I feel like that's the most affordable way for people to have access to books. And I'm a writer because I want people to have access to books. I'm not a writer because I think it's going to make me a millionaire. If it does, great. I would love that. But that's not why I'm doing it. And but if you put it on Kindle Unlimited, you can't put the ebook anywhere else. Like you said, you can sell it through your site. I believe you might still be able to do that, but you can't
You
sell it
can't
anywhere
put it
else.
on Apple Books or Google Books I got in
Nothing.
trouble for that because I didn't
Me
know
too.
that. And I was like, because putting your book on Apple. So my first book that I published, it was my spiritual ethics book. And I did that all myself. I was like, I can do this. And I did it through Amazon. And this is where I learned about the button, because then I was like, actually, I want it on Ingram as well, because then I can distribute it to some more places and people can order it a bit easier and Anyway, so then I learned a lot because I was like, oh, I'm not meant to hit that button. But then I also was manually uploading my book to like Apple, and Apple's ebook publishing platform. It is like something the equivalent to what I remember using in high school. Like that is how old it is and how clunky it is. And I was like, what is this? Why is this so bad? And it was so hard. So when it came around to doing my novel, I actually got like a small publishing company and paid them to do the global distribution because I didn't want to deal with Ingram. I didn't want to deal with all these ebook platforms. But I'm like, I can do Amazon. So I had it on Amazon going while they were still sorting their stuff in the background, but it was funny.
There's a
Yeah.
really good company too, if you want to check it out in the future for future books. It's called Draft 2 Digital. It's the number
Mm,
2. I
yeah.
found them. Have you heard of them before?
They've started to come into my field, so maybe that's where my next book's gonna go. Yeah.
Because I like everything you said about uploading on Apple and like I felt it in my soul, because I just remember thinking this is going to be my whole Saturday today, just uploading and resizing and redoing things for all like but like a small amount of pixel changes for all these different companies. Then I found Draft to Digital, and they do the global distribution for you. You just upload it once and they like let you know where it's at, like in the various processing, and then they just take a cut afterwards, which, as you probably know, that's one of the benefits of self-publishing. Is if you're not self-published, you're going to make a if you're traditionally published, you're going to make a fraction of what you can make being self-published. Like on Amazon, you can get 70% of the royalties, which kind of leaves it to where, like, if you do want to do something with a different company also, it's not that big of a deal. And you still make like 40%. So, which
Yeah,
so much more than
exactly.
traditional.
Exactly. And when we're talking these percentages, everybody, I'm just gonna let you know it's like a couple of dollars a book. Okay. I'm just
Right.
putting that in perspective, right? It's not like, oh, you make 70%. That's like, if it's a $20 book, or $30, I can't even do the math on that. But if it's like a $20 book, you're making, I don't know, it's really bad math, $15. Like, no, because you got to take out the printing cost. You got to take out all those things. But the point is, you don't have to have. I'm like, I have books in my house because I sell them to people if I go to like a talk or something like that. But
Yeah.
you could. They just take care of all that end for you. You don't have to have like a publisher publishing house you're calling up saying, I need 30 copies of my book, they can order it straight through there, or they can go through Ingram, or however that looks. So yeah, it's a lot more doable, I feel. And if you can't even afford an editor, just be persistent. I managed to do the second edit of my book using AI. It was very nitty gritty. Like I could only do about 2 chapters a day because I had to do so much pushback and go, nope, don't cut that out, put that back in, stop writing in 1-word sentences. That is not a sentence. Sometimes it's okay for emphasis, but that is not a sentence in this case. Like, where did that character go? You just got rid of it. But yeah, but it was worth it.
Program
Yeah.
Grammarly's really been helpful to me too. Cause, this is like one of the hardest things is that editors are essential. Like they're very important to the publishing process. They're also the most expensive part of the publishing process.
Yes, they are.
They're worth every penny if you have the pennies. But I'm so passionate about people getting their stories out there, like, especially right now, the way the world is, I feel like there's a lot of a lack of empathy. And they've done studies, and people who read more nonfiction or don't read at all, they have less empathy than people who read fiction. Because if you read fiction, you come into contact with people that you probably never come into contact with in the real world. And your brain doesn't understand that those characters aren't real people. That's why it feels so painful when you finish reading a book. You're like, oh, I'm never going to see like my friends from summer camp again.
I hate those. Yeah. And I hate the books that don't finish up. So like even my book, I put like a 10 years later thing because
Love it.
I'm like,
Thank you.
Right? But then even the bonus chapters have like that 5 years later from other characters' perspectives as well, because it's like you just want to know and keep going. And if it's not a series, so I love the authors that then interweave those characters into the next book, but it's not primarily about them, but they pop up and you're like, oh yeah, I remember that one. And then they're playing because you're still friends with them. Like you said, you're still like, oh my goodness, look, they're showing up again. I know who they are. I just read that book. And that's what I feel keeps you wanting to come back into that loop, or to have that epilogue. This is me personally. So I feel you agree, Natalie, but having that epilogue of this is what happened to them. They did get there happily ever after, or these weird things happened, but they were okay now, or, they're living out their dreams, or however that looks, because it gives you that serotonin hit at the end and that dopamine, like, yeah, it worked.
I want to know. Let me know what happened. Like, we're curious creatures. We've spent so much time with these people. What happened?
Especially you're writing mysteries and thrillers. You want to know there's like a balance at the end of that, because you're like, this whole time. You want something.
One of the nice things about writing series, to the point that you were saying, is like I just get to keep going on with them. It has been interesting. I have friends who work in entertainment. Like obviously I live in Los Angeles. You can't throw a rock without hitting someone who works in entertainment. It's interesting because I now think of the series, the books in it, the same way that you think of writing a season of TV, right? Like you need to have your character arcs. You pick, do you want it to be a 6-book series, a 9-book series? And you could keep going after that, but like it's got to be like a new chapter in their life. Like we got to close some loops. We got to do all that stuff. So it's been so interesting doing that with the series after starting with three thrillers. I had to count for a second how many there were. Where to your point, it's just like you just have the characters for a little, and like I'm done with them too after that. Like it's sad for me also.
Yeah. And especially when and even what you said about character arcs and story arcs. So when I wrote my book, it was a little bit different. I got a dream, and it was like the dream was a whole movie. And I was like, I need to put that into a book. That's how I get them. That's how I get my book. I have so many in my phone that I've just written down kind of the synopsis that kind of came through. Right. And I'm like, they'll be birthed when they're ready. But what happened was I started writing this book and I put it all together. And then when I was editing it through AI and chat, I was like, okay, what are the main story arcs? And they're like, hey, you've actually written a really powerful psychological dark romance. It actually explores where loneliness makes you do decisions, modern intimacy, and how the technology can create false protection. And I'm like, I did all of that? I had no idea. I was just writing the story.
It feels so like it's really exciting when you get excited about your own writing. Like
yes.
it just I don't really know anything I can compare it to. You're just like so proud of yourself. Like I don't know if you feel this way, but I always joke that every book release day is both the best and worst day of my life. Like,
And it's almost a little bit anticlimactic. Like, it's like, oh, you finished your book.
like,
What are you going to do now? Sale.
yeah, exactly that.
It was really funny because KDP wasn't working. I think it was last month or the month before. I don't know. It was being really glitchy. Everyone was complaining about it on Threads. If anyone's curious about the indie author, and when I had to learn what indie author meant, so I feel to quickly segue there. So indie author just means you have self-published or used a very small publishing house to get your works out into the world. So I was like, oh my goodness, I'm an indie author. I had no idea. Right. So I'm like, great. Now I've got this community, but they were all complaining. They're like, I don't know, something's acting up. Like people are reading my book on Kindle Unlimited because they're telling me, but I'm not getting the pages, included. It was something weird was going on. I couldn't even see any sales. I was like, I don't know what's going on. My husband's like, have you sold any yet? And I'm like, I don't know. I said, I truly don't know. I'm just like, whatever. And then you get the email in your inbox and it's like, you have a royalty coming in. I'm like, oh, I must have sold something. So exciting.
It's like the most exciting 14 cents you'll ever make in your life.
Sometimes it is that little. We're not joking. But you know what? This is the point, right, Natalie? It's you're writing because you have a story to tell, you're passionate about it, and you want to share that some way. But then you can also help other people do the same, which is where I feel you've put this nice little bridge in. But you can also become an inspiration to other people because everyone has a book in them. There's a story that they want to tell. It just depends how it wants to come out.
Yeah, totally. That is almost verbatim what I always say, that everyone has a story. And we could all really learn a lot from each other. It's just, it, it takes a bit of bravery to write a book and then put it out there. And then, gosh, I can't even imagine. I want to publish a poetry anthology at some point, but it's like, I don't think I have the guts for it. Maybe at some point I will, but I'm not there yet. It's just one of the most rewarding and scary experiences. So rewarding that and then it's out there forever. And I mean, that's part of why it's scary, but it's also like you've contributed to like literature. You've contributed to what people can read, what they can learn. You created whole people and whole worlds, and they exist now because you put them out there. And it's just like a very, very fulfilling, like surreal thing that's like hard to wrap your mind around.
But you did it. And then you're like, yeah, look, I did it. And it doesn't matter if your family reads your book. It doesn't matter if it becomes a bestseller, which is a whole other podcast about what bestseller really means. I've just it's very interesting.
You need a lot of connections to make that one happen.
But even it was funny, I watched a pod. But anyway, put yourself in spaces where you can learn about these things or reach out to people like Natalie or someone who who's been through it, because this can be like a beautiful learning thing. I had a client last week and she goes, I just want to tap your brain about the self-publishing process. I said, yeah, I'll show you everything. Let's go. And she goes, thank you. It just felt so big and overwhelming, but it really isn't. I said, no, it really isn't. But if it's new and you don't know where you're heading, this is why tapping into Natalie's work and what she does is really powerful too.
Thank you. Yeah, I try to. So those are some of the resources I try to put up on the indie authors. I have like a 13-step process that I've refined over the years. And so I put it there. And so basically like you can publish a book in just a few weeks if you want to. Like you can go from idea to having it fully written to having it published. And so I put that whole process there, and I keep it really short on purpose because it's already overwhelming to write a book. Like that's already a lot. And then to think about the editing and the covers and like how many times do you edit? And then I also have things up there about like story structure. If people are like, I want to write a book, but I just actually don't understand story structure. I don't want to go to school. I don't want to take a class. There's some very tried and true story structures that are on there. I think I have workbooks for like breaking writer's block. I know that like it sounds like maybe me and you have the similar problem of that not being our problem because our dreams keep us busy enough with material.
Yeah, it's like, hang on. It's like, hang on a minute. Hang on, brain. I just need a minute to write this down. Thank you.
Exactly.
Or my favorite is I'm in the shower And then all these ideas come in. I'm like, hang on, I'm wet and I need paper and I need to write this down. I'm like, what's the nearest thing?
You
Tissue.
need to
I'll
get
write
like
on a
a
tissue.
waterproof like dictaphone or something.
So as we start to finish our time together, Natalie, I asked the guests that come on the show if you could heal or change something in the world, what would it be?
Yeah, I love that. This is a great question. I think mine's a little simple, but I think it's really important. And it's that I wish that we all gave each other, or like gave ourselves, but also like encouraged each other to take the space to find out what lights us up. I think, a common thing that people say is to think about what you did when you were a kid and what did you do for fun and all those types of things. I mean, I've said that too. I say it in my books. I've said it to myself. I've said it to my friends. But then I also was thinking about it lately, and some of us, like, this is not me, but some people didn't have great childhoods where they were able to have fun, Like, you at no point in your life were able to know what lights you up. You don't know what you're interested in. And so we've got people addicted to phones and all this stuff, and they don't actually know what makes them happy, nor do people take the time and space to do it. So, I, I've always been an embroiderer, like, since I was a little kid, so that's another thing that I do on the side is publish embroidery patterns, and, like, I have one of the best-selling samplers on Etsy that I only sell for 99 cents, and it's got, like, all the pictures, all the stuff in it, and I intentionally keep it that cheap because embroidery is a very cheap hobby to pick up, and I want people who maybe only have $5 to try something new, and they're like, "I just gotta try something new." I want them to be able to afford the supplies, and that was, like, the cheapest it could sell for. I was like, "I just want you to have this resource so you could get started today, something new." And maybe hate embroidery, like, maybe that's not it for you, but the point is to make the space for yourself to try that, because if we all have things in our lives that we do that light us up, that's just good energy that we take out into the rest of the day. And it could be something you do with friends if you're a really social person. It could be something you do for yourself if you're like anxious but not tired, or you don't know what to do with yourself and you would otherwise doom scroll, all those things. So that's the one thing I would love to heal, is just giving ourselves permission to figure out what it is that we like. Like, yeah, I just think that would make everybody better.
Well, it's like a lot of my clients, I'll tell them to start their day with doing something for them, So if they
Yeah.
want to write, start your day doing writing, because
Yeah.
otherwise they go to work, they do their however many hours, come home, make dinner for the kids, and then they're exhausted. And then they don't get to spend that time doing something. Whereas if you flip that, and maybe it is you get up 10 minutes earlier off 200 words, right? You filled your cup up straight away. You're not running on empty. And that's sometimes really beautiful to remember as well.
Yes.
And if people want to come and connect with you, Natalie, or find your books, obviously on Amazon, but where else can they go?
Yeah, so pretty much just Amazon for the books. If you want any of my other writing, like I said, but I've moved off of Substack for technical SEO reasons, but I still keep that newsletter going on a different platform. It's linked on my website, which is just my name. I'm like luckily one of very few Natalie Saars in the entire world. I don't know how you get that lucky, but I did. So you can pretty much just put my whole name into any platform and I'll be the one that pops up. So
Amazing. And for those who are panicking about that, it's okay. It'll be in the show notes. Don't worry. It's all good.
thank you.
And Natalie, thank you so much for reminding us all how important it is just to do 1% better each day, or 1% commit to yourself, and also to find what lights you up. And if it is self-publishing or going into that world, why not? Why not do that? And why not allow yourself to explore that? So for everyone who's listening, thank you so much for tuning in. If you're curious and want to know more about Natalie, obviously check out the show notes. Or if you want to know more about the show, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. So thank you again for tuning in. And thank you, Natalie, for being in this conversation.
Thank you, Catherine. I had so much fun.
Hey, beautiful souls. I wanted to have a chat with you about a really amazing cacao that I drink to help me get in ceremony, to help me ground, but also just because it tastes freaking good. So if you're curious and want to know about drinking something other than coffee or your standard tea, why not check out Creation Cacao? I love this with a bit of honey and cinnamon sprinkled in, and just letting it brew and having that whole intention as you create this cup. So if you're curious and want to know more, check out the link in the show notes and enjoy your cup of cacao. Thank you for listening to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We have so much love and gratitude that you have taken the time out of your day to empower you on your healing journey. The views shared by the person being interviewed might not necessarily reflect that of the host and should be used at your own discernment. Trust what resonates for you and follow your heart and soul guidance. If you have any underlying medical conditions or mental health issues, please consult with your healthcare provider before pursuing any of the recommendations. Likewise, you can always contact the person being interviewed to find out more information. This can be found in the show notes. Remember to activate, align, heal, empower, and find love in everything that you do.